Everyone, this is Perch, and answering a viewer question, which is a small viewer question. And it's almost like the light going on, I think, in a couple people's eyes. But I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach to this video. I'm going to try and make the case for something I don't agree with. Right? Very contrarian. Right? All right. So the question is basically this: Hey, Perch, is comics, are comics? Should have said are. I'm now grammar. I'm torturing grammar. I'm not the person to correct people on grammar. Is comics a club or a business? People are fooled by thinking it's a business. It makes money. It has corporations attached to it. They make movies, but they operate like a club. Which is it, club or business? All right. So the answer here is it's a business. It is a business. Just because it is a business doesn't mean that the people who are in that business act like it's a business. But yes, it's a business. They pay taxes. They have IP. In some cases, they have shares. It is a business. However, I do understand why you might have the impression that it's a club. And here's where I'll kind of make the let me make an argument in favor of it being a club. Okay, something I don't agree with. I think it's better. I mean, if all the videos that I've done to this date don't make it incredibly clear, I think comics should be treated like a business. I think businesses are meant to be serious. I think they require serious structure and not a lot of nonsense and silliness on any side, whether you're mainstream comics or crowdfunded comics. I think business matters. I think getting people what they order matters. I think putting stuff out on time matters. I think delivering a product that isn't filled with a bunch of propaganda nonsense matters. I think it should be a business, not a hobby, not a club. But if you resign yourself to believing that comics, it will never really make much money. I mean, if you're talking about something where it's never intended to be a full-time salary for anyone. Now, of course, it is a full-time salary, particularly for a lot of executives who are making seven figures in a lot of cases or more off of comics. It's sure as hell a business for them. But for if you're living in New York and you're making 25,000, if you're working for Boom and they're offering you $20 a page, if you're or whatever, if you're working for one of these companies, I see every now and then tweets like these companies give out statements. Like there's this entire drama, and no, I'm not doing a video on the drama. Basically, it's people harassed a trans woman, and then some other trans people of color were accused of being some of the harassers, and so it's just a giant cluster. Danny's wrapped up in it, Vita's wrapped up in it, a bunch of people are wrapped up in this, and the publisher issues this statement that is, one of those things that if anyone had money and wanted to go to court, they could sue a number of people. The people I mentioned. Absolutely. They made several legal errors in the company's statement policies and other things they have going on, but it's not, nobody in that is acting like it's a business. They're acting like it's a club. Think about I don't know if your town does this, but if they have like a farmer's market, or if they have a place where people set up and they sell, candles or patchouli oil or whatever. Somebody baked cookies and they set up a little card table and they sell cookies. Somebody found a bunch of rocks and polished them up and they're selling crystals. Whatever it happens to be. There's a lot of these. Usually in any kind of big town, once a week, there's one of these little markets. Me, like an idiot, always thinks like, hey, I'm going to go get some fresh vegetables and I'm going to take it home and cook something special there. And it's never a good idea. There's not vegetables. I don't typically go, but whenever there's somebody out of town visiting, they're like, oh, let's go to the farmer's market. So everybody goes and they wander around. And I wind up buying my kids some kind of crappy souvenir from a place that's near my house. I don't know. That's not a souvenir. Anyway, so it just almost went down the rabbit hole there. Regardless, the people who are selling in that farmer's market, like the guy who's making the candles or the one who's selling like the seashells that are glued onto a piece of wood, that they're not thinking of themselves like a business. I mean, maybe it's a one-person business. Maybe it's maybe they fire up QuickBooks and log the sales of their candles and that kind of thing. And they may do that, but they don't think of themselves like a company, like a business. And the reality, if we're talking about comics, I think that sometimes there's the illusion of a business where there shouldn't be. Just because you're getting something published in Diamond doesn't mean you have $10,000 in the bank. If you're a comic company that's putting out comics, and again, you're paying people $20 a page, or you're trying to get your artists to do it for free in exchange for recognition. I'm waving my fingers around like magic. If that's your thing, then you're running a club. And if you're running a club, then yeah, I guess you can go on social media and you could be as nasty and stupid as you want to be, because it is a club. You can prank people. You can have your little devoted followers to your club. But that's not a business you're running at that point. It's Friday night LARPers in the park. That's what that is. And some of the smaller comic companies, yeah, it's kind of what that is. I mean, I've been doing this for 30 plus years. Every now and then somebody sends me a link to a statement that a comic company has made. I've never heard of this comic company. If I've never heard of the comic company, I'm sorry. This is a club. I'm being a little cruel. Maybe you could call it a small business if you want. You can be funny with it. But if part of the company is regularly like trolling and harassing people and having dramas spun up, and like this bizarre thing about this company that's putting out an anthology, and like one trans person is getting bullied off of social media by another one because of the gender that they're saying they are being I mean, it's just like you like, okay, none of this is serious. This is this is D&D at 11 o'clock at night in somebody's basement. That's what that is. If you're treating your business so casually, then yeah, then at some point you have to say this is a club. And maybe for some of these people, that's their ceiling. That's what they're capable of. And in that case, let's stop trying to put this framework of a business on them. Let them just be a club. If and again, I realize I'm saying it disparagingly, but it doesn't have to be. Like, think for a moment, if you're listening to this right now, and think about a lot of the dramas and the chaos that you hear. Again, wherever it happens to be, whether you're on the right or you're on the left, or whoever you are, and think about how frustrated you are with this little company doing silly nonsense, right? Um, if you think about it in the context of it's a small business, and this is just somebody, it's basically a business of personality. It's no different than somebody opening up a gun shop down in rural parts of Kentucky. Like that person's opening up a business of passion. They may make money, and they should, and everything else, but it's not, this person's not competing with Walmart. And yet with comics, we often put everybody under this lens, whether you're a crowdfunder doing those kinds of books, or you're Ahoy, or you're, and nothing against any of these people. Actually, Ahoy, Ahoy is a pretty buttoned up company, in all seriousness. They kind of know what they're doing. But I think that when you're running a company, you have a choice. You have a fork in the road. You can either strive to be very professional, very official, in which case you need to have employment documents, you need to have security policy, you need to have a workplace discrimination policy, you need to have a social media policy, you need to have rules basically in your company. You need to report on income. That's a company. If you want to be, if you want to just hire your pals, and you want to regularly get in weird social media fights, if you want to have a bunch of kind of nonsense surrounding yourself, then stop pretending to be a company. Just be a club. And you can still make money, you can still do your thing, but let's put the people in the right context. Because I think the problem seeps upward. This is really where I think this all leads. When you have a bunch of small companies acting like idiots, and then people from those small companies eventually, get the big job at Marvel, they take the idiot behavior with them. And there isn't this transition into, okay, now, previously I was screwing around in a little hobby or a club. Now I'm actually working for a big company, a corporation. So I need to, change what I do. You notice that more and more where you see this problem kind of erupt is that there's no leveling up. There's no, all right, now I gotta, stop staying out until 4 in the morning, doing meth before walking into the office at 8. It's if you can't clean yourself up, you shouldn't be working for that big company. But unfortunately, because we mush all this stuff together, what's happening is the clubs are now influencing the companies, and now the companies are starting to act more like the clubs. There's a lot of there's stuff that goes on. I mean, remember a couple years ago when Joe Quesada was out like fighting people on Twitter and and retweeting, clapbacking to known trolls. Do you remember this? This was like 2 years ago. As the head of a company, yeah, no, you shouldn't do that. And somebody did eventually tap Joe on the shoulder and like, hey, don't stop doing that, dummy. You're going to get us sued, you're going to get you sued, and we're going to bail on you the second that happens. So stop it. If you want your big income, stop. And you notice, oh, mystery of mysteries, he stopped. But that's the problem when you treat things that way. So our comics, a company or a business or a club, they should be businesses, they should be companies. But if they're incapable, then they should just settle in and be a club, and we should all get comfortable with thinking of them that way. Because I don't think it's doing anybody any good to pretend. Anyway, what's your answer? Business or club? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and thanks for listening.